Hello and welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast. This is episode 240. It is September 2nd, 2025. My name is Eric Peterson and I'm joined today by Mr. Jacob Beers. How's it going, Jacob?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here as well. Happy September, everybody. You made it through August. Made it back to school for those of you with school-age children or in school yourself. Well, let's talk about some Ortus news to kick things off. We had a couple blog posts this week. One is about TestBox. TestBox, what's coming? Talks about what is new and what is coming in TestBox. So TestBox currently has full BoxLang compatibility, including being able to write specs in BoxLang, or you can mix it with your existing CFML tests, running BoxLang specs from the BoxLang CLI, and support for the new language key in your box.json. The BoxLang runner, as mentioned, lets you execute tests in the serverless environment with full mock web support, so you can have very fast tests there. And tons of new matchers and debuggers, as well as some VS Code Test Explorer IDE integration, which is one of my favorite parts. I love being able to see the test on the side and all the green checkboxes. Coming soon, code coverage for BoxLang. That will be nice, especially code coverage in CFML is possible, but it is quite the steps and quite the hassle to set up. Async testing support and more enhancements to our test explorers and data providers. Nothing stopping you from testing right now in BoxLang, and great things are coming in the future with it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to the state of CommandBox and what we've got coming up there. There's some really exciting CommandBox improvements that are coming out. It looks like we are officially on version 6.2 point something. We actually did a little bit of, in our most recent blog post for it, we did a little bit of statistics sharing just to show all the progress that we've made over the years. So it looks like CommandBox has been around for 12 years now, which is pretty awesome. 47 total releases, 165 pull requests, probably 95% from Brad Wood. 35 tickets closed this year, and more and more people are beginning to contribute from the community, which is awesome because CommandBox is a really fantastic tool. We've got millions of installations of the various cold fusion engines. We've got a growing number of BoxLang installations through CommandBox, and the CommandBox-based Docker image itself has 1.8 million pulls, which is pretty spectacular. I love the CommandBox Docker image. That thing is fantastic. Interesting thing is that we've got 4 different JDK versions that are supported now. Java 11, Java 17, Java 21, and 24. So we've got quite a bit of support there for all of your Java needs. And let's look at what's new in 6.1 and 6.2. We've got a new command for Lucy servers, server Lucy-deploy. I'm not actually sure what that's for. Eric, do you know what that is?
It's to deploy like a Lex extension into your Lucy server.
Okay, cool.
That's and if you're like, wow, he knew that right off the bat. No, I looked it up earlier when I too was like, what is that?
Cool. So it's like a CFPM, but for...
yeah, so like you have a Lex file you want to throw into your Lucy's, has like a deploy folder, and then it picks it up from there. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. We got binary hash verification and package management, which is good. This is one feature that I'm really excited about. WebSocket support with SocketBox. It works with Adobe ColdFusion, Lucy, and BoxLang. It's modeled after Socket.io. It supports basic messaging, stomp broker, custom authentication, and message routing. I'm actually really fortunate to have gotten to use this on a project just this past week, and I've used Socket.io and Node.js on several different projects. And so that's kind of my reference for this. And SocketBox has blown me away. It's really awesome. So definitely go give that a check out.
I'm mentioning ITB has its call for speakers open. And that's the one I feel like I want to put a talk forward for SocketBox just because I want to use it. Not because I'm, intensely qualified, but I just want to get to know SocketBox. It just sounds really fun. Building UIs that are reactive with WebSockets. I think all our apps would benefit from some of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, you should definitely go and put it out for that. And as I don't know if we have this in the notes for later, but I'm going to go ahead and spill the beans on it. Just this past week, we released an update for SocketBox that adds clustering support. So you can use it in a load balanced environment.
Nice.
Which is pretty snazzy. That's usually a pretty big barrier for WebSockets, but we do it out of the box now. Then we've got some new servlet support, and one cool feature is a server warm-up URL that you can define in your, I believe in your box JSON that will, or maybe your server JSON that will tell your server how to warm up your application when it finally comes online. So it's kind of a nice little feature. I know a lot of us have kind of jerry-rigged that in the past, but.
And then there's a what's next section for BoxLang. And the reason is because the idea is to run CommandBox on BoxLang for a smaller, faster, lightweight experience. So that's going to be one of our targets going into the future. So you can run CommandBox right on top of BoxLang. A Maven endpoint for better jar management. I'm very excited for that one because whenever I have to deal with a Maven project, I get sad. I'm sure it's just familiarity, but I'm still sad about it. More enterprise cache modules, server dashboard and metrics, cloud-based config management, and of course, professional Ortus support. I did look it up for you. I was curious about your claim that Brad made most of those pull requests. And for the core, at least, only 6 of them were made by Brad, which makes sense. He just doesn't do pull requests for his own code. So... Yep. But yeah, that is still awesome, though. So 333 pull requests by people who were not named Brad Wood.
Yeah, that is cool. That shows community involvement. So
all right. We have some videos to share with you, a little CBWire bites, if you will, tutorials about getting started with CBWire and BoxLang. They're kind of a precursor, especially for those of you who will be coming to the CBWire workshop after CF Summit later this month. So we're going to throw those links into the show notes.
Have a quick side trail. Eric, have you had a chance to work with CBWire much?
No, I have not. I laugh only because I wouldn't call it competing, but I built a CB Inertia, which works with Inertia.js, which is like, it's kind of like the opposite philosophy. So where CBWire is like, let's write less JavaScript and put it all into CFML and now BoxLang code. Inertia was, okay, your views are no longer in CFML or BoxLang at all. It's all JavaScript. You want to use React. You want to use Vue. I don't think there's a problem with either. But because of that, the ones I work on happen to be Inertia projects. So gotcha. I'm taking it you have.
I've worked on it on some personal projects, and I've really enjoyed it, but I look forward to someday getting to use it on an actual project, so I just wanted to check in. But it seems like maybe I found out that you and Grant Copley are actually mortal enemies.
Oh, no, not at all. I think CBWire is really cool. It's just not the one I use. I would say my favorite thing in using something like Inertia is I'm always pulling in a Vue component or a React component, off of NPM that my client wants to use, and it's a lot easier there. Then Alpine's built in here, so if you can build an Alpine, great. If it's built in Vanilla.js, you can integrate it, awesome. But for at least the clients I work with, it was much easier to just stay in Vue. That was their Vue.js,
gotcha.
Was their framework of choice. So
yeah, well, the good thing I'm hearing is that we have options.
Yeah,
whichever direction you decide to go, we've got it you covered.
Yes, we do.
Awesome. Okay, well, ColdBox Tips and Tricks series. It looks like we've got a couple of really great blog posts for you to look at. The first one covers environment variables in your .env config. This looks like a really great, if you're not familiar with environment variables, this looks like a really great introduction to help get you up to speed on what they're useful for and specifically how they work in the ColdBox environment, ColdBox/CommandBox environment. But it also looks like a really great refresher or reference, even if you do use them, just to get it double check best practices and things like that. So definitely go give that a read and see if it provides anything useful for you. The second one is about fluent if statements. And this is kind of interesting. I've seen patterns like this used in different frameworks. I didn't realize we actually had this in ColdBox, so that's kind of cool. Actually, I'm most familiar with this in QB, Eric, because you use this for Query Builder, but it's nice to know we have it available in handlers and things like that as well.
Yeah, so the idea of it is instead of an if statement, you can have this when statement, which takes the Boolean and then gives you some callbacks. And you might be sitting here like, why in the world would I do this? That's an if statement. And it's all about chaining. Right after that if statement, you want to continue chaining on the current object you are on and just keep going. And so is it better than an if statement? No, it's the same thing. Could it look better in your code? Maybe. So there you go. I like it. I also like at the end, it talks about using this as a Wirebox delegate, meaning you can tell your class or component, hey, I want to use these flow delegates from the core delegates, and then all those methods get added into your class as if they were there in the first place. So kind of like traits in other languages, or partial mix-ins, or what's the weirdest one? Multiple inheritance, that one. That's the weird one, though. So, yeah.
I feel like
Awesome.
multiple inheritance is one of those things that all the programming languages tried out, I don't know, like in the 90s. And then a year or two after they all implemented it, they immediately abandoned it. And nobody's done it since.
Yeah, I wonder what languages, if any, support multiple inheritance. Let's see.
I'm going to say C.
Google, tell us. C++, Python does? Interesting. I don't know if this is right. This is AI. Who knows if it's right? It says Scala via mixin classes. See, that's traits. That's not multiple inheritance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think some of these are probably not right because AI wants to be helpful. All right, cool. If you have it though, use delegates, or you probably have a use case for it where you want these functions in all of your classes. Delegates are great for that. I love delegates. So came out in ColdBox 7, 6. Let's see. There you go. All right. Well, let's tell you about our sponsor for this week. Our sponsor is the Building Reactive UIs with CB Wire workshop that is happening at the end of this month after CF Summit. So this is September 24th and 25th. 2-day training led by Luis Mahano and Grant Copley, which, as we said before, Grant is the author of CB Wire. So you are learning from the feet of the master, right? If you are going to be anywhere near the Vegas area and this is worth your time, even if you haven't done anything with CB Wire yet. So maybe especially if you haven't done anything with CB Wire yet. So we'll put the link in the show notes and in our chat. We hope to see you there.
Yeah,
let's jump
really
to
cool.
some BoxLang news. We have a new version to talk about.
Version 1.5 has landed, according to the blog post.
So I was wondering so version 1.5 is out, these all been non-breaking changes, right? And it made me wonder, Lucy has kind of a, what do they call it? It's like paradigm versioning, right? Where they make the first number go up. Maybe it's not Lucy. Maybe I'm thinking something else. But the first number can go up just when you want like a big marketing splash, right? Not necessarily. I know Laravel does it to like throw out in PHP land where they're like, this is Laravel 12. And it's like, did you have breaking changes? They're like, no, breaking changes are the second number. So 12.1 could be breaking. And I'm like, this is confusing. But then
they just
say
feel
big
extra
number.
Special this release.
So I was trying to think, like, are we in BoxLang? Are we going to have a big splashy 2.0 because it's splashy and that's fine? Or are we going to be the weird ones that are like, we're on version 1.38 because we just never had to do a breaking change? I don't know. Stay tuned.
We'll find out. Well, as much fun as it is to speculate about the future, this is what we've actually got in 1.5. It looks like we've got some really great stuff regarding the AWS Lambda runtime. I haven't had a chance to use this at all, but I've heard some really good things about it. Looks like, I know Luis has put some effort into that. Eric, I don't know if you've gotten to use it, but it sounds like it's been made really straightforward and easy. Yeah. So it looks like there's some cool stuff with performance boosts for the AWS kicking off the first run, which actually, if you'd like to see that in action, you can go and check out tryboxlang.io. I think it's try.boxlang.io. And that's actually powered by an AWS Lambda. And it's quite snappy. So we've also got some convention-based multifunction Lambdas. So that's kind of nice, being able to handle multiple things through one configuration setup. We've also got some new stuff going on with virtual threads, and this will actually connect up with something that we've got later on that will be referencing a talk that John Clausen did on parallel processing in BoxLang, which was really cool. It was a great talk. But we've got some really cool things where we've made some of the array functions have a parallel argument, and then we handle the way that executes through virtual threads instead of regular threads. Non-virtual ones, and they perform really, really well.
Yeah. So basically, if you've used any of the parallel, XEach, XMap for structs, arrays, queries, any of those in Lucy or Adobe, you can pass true after your callback function and then an optional number of threads. And that threads has always been the platform threads, right? Threads on your CPU. Java supports virtual threads, and now BoxLang lets you pass it in right there with, instead of putting in 10, you can pass in another true. And that's just saying use virtual threads, which are not bound by the number of threads on your CPU. They're much more lightweight. You're not going to run into the same issues. So each functions, map functions, filters, all of those now support virtual threads in addition to the platform threads. So,
which is awesome. I think in my mind, and feel free to be like, no, Jacob, your theory is entirely wrong. But in my mind, this is almost like a hybrid of like how Node.js works plus Java, like if the two of them got together and had a BoxLang baby, because Node.js is single threaded and uses the event loop. So when you want to do something async, it's lightweight, but you're not really getting the full power of concurrency. In traditional Java, you get concurrency, but they're heavyweight full threads. So now we get something that's kind of like, you get something that's nice and lightweight, but truly concurrent. And it's almost like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think the virtual threads are basically Java handling when they put it on a platform thread, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. It's like being the scheduler in that case. But I bet both of us would learn what it actually is if we go listen to John's workshop that he gave.
Yeah, probably. Well, next thing is database operations have gotten smarter in BoxLang, and I should probably stop riffing on some of these theory ideas, and Eric, you'd be the much better one to talk about this between the two of us. So.
I can talk about this one. So a lot of work was put in to have multiple SQL statements. So, adding a colon in between and running multiple statements. If you've never dealt with JDBC on the lower level, they don't like doing multiple statements by default. So you have to do some work to get that through. But it's also giving you the right metadata back, the right update count. So if you do, like 6 updates in one statement, it will give you the full update count. And you'll have to check out the metadata, but you can get some great metadata from the BoxLang queries more than in the other engines. So, try some of these examples in the blog post and see what you get there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. As someone who's just a SQL consumer and doesn't do much under the hood with JDBC connections, executing multiple statements is something that I thought just was. I didn't realize it needed to be layered on top of.
No, working on SQL stuff in BoxLang made me very much appreciate the query execute, the function. It looks so simple, and there's so much work that goes into that.
Right. Yeah.
I know there was also work put in for better compatibility with different database engines, as well as part of all of this moving around. So smarter database calls, more accurate update counts, multiple statements, great improvements all around.
Yeah. Awesome. Our Java interop just got smarter. It looks like it's now more intuitive than ever, and we've got improved methods for method resolution for overloaded Java methods and handling of primitive types. If you haven't checked it out, we put a lot of work into BoxLang's Java interop, and it is first class in my opinion. So it works really well if you're wanting to do if you want to stay in the BoxLang world, but you want to do some Java heavy work. It's really excellent at that. You got some security and reliability improvements, enhanced file upload security, which looks like you can provide a blocked extension argument to make sure that you're dealing with malicious stuff, malicious user actions right from the beginning. And then we've also got some memory leak protection that is improved handling of threads in long-running applications, which is great. And then I think the last enhancement is CFML compatibility enhancements, script custom tag support. So Adobe Cold Fusion developers can now use their favorite script-based custom tags.
That way of creating the custom tag. So usually it's in a template tag, right? And now you can put it in these functions inside a component. So for the three of you out there using custom tags,
you can write them in script.
So yeah, no breaking changes as part of BoxLang 1.5. You can update today and take advantage of all of those performance boosts, really, right? Performance boosts and bug fixes. We did have one question in the chat. Are the virtual threads available in the CFML compatibility mode? I believe the answer is yes. Though, of course, if you tried to switch engines back, that second true instead of being a number will not work on other engines. So, all right. It was a great release. Congrats to the entire BoxLang team knocking it out of the park. All right, we got a few blog posts out in the community about BoxLang. The first one I want to pull up is one by Ray Camden about his first stab at the BoxLang log viewer. So he points out, we are working on an administrator desktop client that you can connect to your BoxLang apps and get all these things. Or if you're running in CommandBox, you can get the logs really easily, server log. But Ray wanted to build a tool that he could load a log file and see it. And he does so with BoxLang. So we'll link to that here and let you go ahead and see how he handled that.
We've also got a couple of blog posts from Robert Zender, first of which is about a BoxLang-based static site generator. If you're not familiar with static site generators, it is there's a lot of really popular ones like 11D or the one that the GitHub uses.
They're not Ghost, right? Jekyll.
Jekyll, yeah. And essentially, it just takes your raw files and spits out static HTML pages that you can distribute to a web server without having to actually have a web runtime running. So this is an example of using BoxLang to run your static site generator at build time and then be able to deploy static codes with a little bit less overhead. So that's kind of cool. And then the second one is about creating a CLI script that can convert an API to CSV data. And the cool thing about that blog post is that it does a little bit of like, what is that called in a shell script when you use like a hash bang to be able to reference the runtime that you want? It's a great article, and it does a good job of going over some of the built-in functions we've added in BoxLang, like a CLI get args, to help you write your CLI scripts. So definitely give that a check out.
I was going to ask for if Robert, when you listen to this, you got the BoxLang static site generator, you have the CommandBox static site generator, like which is going to win? You've done both of them. Okay, last one we want to talk about. We have a deploying BoxLang in the cloud video series that's out on CFCast and on BoxLang Academy that you can check out. We will have the link to that here in the show notes, and that will tell you again how to deploy it on some different services and different operating systems in the cloud. AWS, using Ubuntu, Red Hat, Windows without CommandBox. So some great options for you there. And now we go into the CFML corner, which is not really alliterative, even though it's the same letter. Gonna keep going. We got a couple from Ben Nadal this week, and I can wrap both of these up by saying Adobe has some async bugs with their parallel function iteration, the ones that we were talking about earlier, the each maps filters. Mm-hmm. So the first one seems crazy that both parallel and sequential in an array each, it's Adobe is outputting to the console the SQL that you're executing. So even when you're not trying to output anything, so that's fun. He said it leaks SQL to the output. I mean, hopefully that output isn't publicly visible, so it's not really a concern, but it's still like, why is it doing that? And then the second one was about closed over variables being undefined in like a too deep parallel closure. I don't know, Adobe, he's giving you bugs. There you go. Those are hard. I don't blame Adobe for not getting all the parallel stuff right, but that's the gist of those two blog posts.
We've got some events that we want to touch on as well. This is in case you missed it, leveling up your async game with BoxLang with John Clausen. This is the one that we referenced earlier. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about some of the async functions we've been talking about, the array parallel functions, or virtual threads in general in Java and BoxLang, go check out that talk. John did a great job with it. It's got a lot of really good information.
Coming up this month, we'll have part 2 of our Build an App in BoxLang with Ray Camden. You can register at the link in the show notes and in the chat. It will be September 29th at 11 a.m. Central. So that will be right soon after a CF Summit, right? Like the next week?
Oh, yeah, just a few days, yeah.
So there you go. Speaking of CF Summit, that's coming up.
The CF Summit is coming up. We're just a few weeks out now. A couple of us from Ortus will be there, so that'll be pretty exciting. You should come say hi to us. And another cool thing we have is a CB Wire workshop post-conference that Luis Mayano and Grant Copley will be putting on together. So that's a pretty exciting thing. If you're interested in CB Wire, you should definitely attend that and get some information about it straight from the people who wrote it.
Are you one of the lucky people that's going to be there?
I am, yeah. I've got a talk on 20 Git tips using Git smarter.
Nice. All right. I mentioned this earlier. The Into the Box 2026 call for speakers is open, as well as, I believe, ticket sales. We call them our blind ticket sales. Let me see. Are they up? They are. So these are blind ticket sales because you don't know what's going to be presented at the conference yet, but you trust that it's going to be great. And in return, we give you a great discount. So you can grab those tickets. You can go to the call for speakers, which we have up on our blog and we'll put here in the show notes. You can put in any topic except for the ones I want to talk about. Okay. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Put in any topic. We'd love to hear from you. We love getting all of the submissions put in. There's always a lot of really creative ones too. So that is, let's see, when is the call for speakers closing? November 15th. So you got a couple months to think about that, put it in. Kind of like what I said before, though, if you have a topic that you're just interested in, not necessarily one you're an expert in yet, you should put it in, because then it will give you a reason to become that expert. I can't tell you the number of times that that's how I've built things. I think my one last year on passkeys, like, yeah, I put that in because I wanted to figure out how to make passkeys work, and it got accepted, and then I had to figure out how to make passkeys work. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's desperation-driven development.
yeah, nothing like public commitments to get you to do what you said you were going to do.
I kind of need that. So great. I mean, in my completely unbiased opinion, the best event of the year. So
Yep, it's always a good time.
Speaking of Into the Box, if you missed the last one, you can go watch it on CFcasts. If you were an attendee, you already have access, and if you weren't, you can purchase it and get access right now and see everything that was talked about at the last Into the Box.
Well, we've also got some international news for you regarding BoxLang arriving in Japan. Just a few weeks ago, our CEO, Luis Mayano, got a chance to attend a Java user group in Japan and get to share some of the work that we've been doing on BoxLang. And from what I hear, it went really well. And we've got a couple of blog posts up kind of documenting his experience and the reception there. So go check those out. I think there's some cool stuff happening over in Japan.
And finally, there's one more series we want to tell you about up on CFcast. It is the Inside the Box series. Kudos to marketing for that name, which is interviews that were conducted at Into the Box. So Into the Box, Inside the Box. I love it. You can go check that out now. Link in the description. That brings us to the end for the day. Thank you for joining us, and a special thank you to anybody supporting us as a Patreon supporter, funding our open source initiatives like CommandBox, ForgeBox, ColdBox, ContentBox, TestBox, all the other great boxes. You can support us yourselves on patreon.com/Ortus Solutions and get lots of perks like access to a private forum on the community website and a private channel on our Box Team Slack, a neat profile badge to show off how cool you are for supporting us, and of course, bronze package and up, you'll get a ForgeBox Pro and a CFcast subscription as part of that. So thank you to all our sponsors. You can see an up-to-date list at ortussolutions.com/about-us/sponsors. And thank to all of you for coming and listening today. We've enjoyed having you here, and we'll catch you in a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you all. See you later.